Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Download Event and to this session. My name is Davide Michetti, and the title of my talk is Machine Learning Pipelines with Sklearn. Before we start with the presentation, a few technical information. This talk will be, as you guessed, in English. It will last approximately 30 minutes. And at the end, we'll have 30 minutes of session one-to-one where you can ask me questions. So, a few information about myself. I work as a data scientist in a business unit of Sorint Lab, which is named Sorint Tech. Our main area of work and expertise are data science, big data, and advanced analytics. Here are my contact info. If you need in the future to ask me a question, I will show this slide also at the end of the talk. So we are going to talk about machine learning, more specifically about Python. And I'm going to give you a short introduction, a short tutorial of the module pipeline from the library Scikit-learn. If you do not know this library, it's very notorious and important for Python and machine learning. It has all the tools that you need for your project. And the module pipeline helps you in packaging your machine learning workflow in an easy and efficient way. Before we talk about the topic, I'm going to give you an overview of a general machine learning workflow in order to highlight the importance and usefulness of this module. So in a general workflow, you would start with the data load, where you get data from databases, logs, and so on. And you start pre-processing them by joining, merging, cleaning. And then you proceed with feature engineering, where you transform your data. For example, there are different methodologies like imputing for treating null values in your columns, or label encoding for categorical or text data, scaling for numerical data, for normalization or dimensionality reduction. Then you can proceed with a phase known as feature selection, where you select the best features of your dataset. You can also use all of them, but most of the time you select the best one that gives you the best performance. Then you split your dataset into subset, a train and test. The train, you use it for fitting your model, your algorithm, and then the test to make the prediction and assess the performance. If you're not satisfied with the performance, the accuracy, then you can start some run of optimization. This optimization can be like hyperparameter tuning, where you optimize the parameters that are used in your workflow, or you can try different models, different algorithms to see which give the best results. So as you can see, it's a complex flow. It has many steps, so it's modular. It's also cyclical, and so if you have something that can make it simpler and easier to use, that would be very helpful. And that's why I'm talking about pipeline. So what are pipelines? They serve as a container to chain together steps, the one I showed you in the previous slide. In the module jargon, they can be transformer, estimator, pipeline, or feature union. There are others, but these are the main one. We'll see later on what I mean with those names. And as I said, pipelines are very useful to package machine learning workflow and fit the model, the whole flow, in a single object, a pipeline. What are the main advantages? Convenience and encapsulation. So you have to call fit and predict only once on your data to fill the all steps of transformer and estimator. Joint parameter selection. You can optimize all the parameters in your pipeline at once. It's really easy and simple. It's modular, so it's easy to swap out steps in your pipeline. If you're not satisfied, you can modify or change them or delete them. And what I like most about this module is its readability and tidiness. So we know that with machine learning project, they can be very messy. The code can be very messy and scattered. And if you have something that can make it simpler to read, that's awesome. A visual representation, pipelines in gray, it's the container, the pipeline. And you have a sequence of a transformer with a final estimator. They are all in chain. So the intermediate steps have to be transformer, and the last can be an estimator. So the data goes in to the top, and it's processed by all the transformer, and then the final outcome is produced by the estimator. So what are transformer? They are a Python class with two main methods. One is fit, and the other is transform. The fit apply logics to some data X, and the transform apply some transformation on some data X. An example is for scaling, the preprocessing of numerical data with the class standard Sklearn, for example, from Sklearn. So to scale the data, you first fit them by calculating the mean and the standard deviation of each column. And then with transform, for each column, each data, you subtract the mean and divide by standard deviation. Other example of a transformer step are label encoding, imputing, or one-hot encoding. Estimator, they are object classes that make prediction. So they have also two main classes, methods. The one is fit, to fit the model on the data, and predict, to predict the outcome. An example is the logistic regression class from Sklearn. With fit, you find the coefficient of the logistic regression formula, and with predict, you compute the prediction through the same formula with the fitted coefficient. Other example of estimator are other algorithms of machine learning like XGBoost, non-forest, and so on. To initialize the pipeline, there are two main classes from the module. One is pipeline, where we pass a list of tuples. In the tuple, there are two arguments. The first one is a string, and it's used to reference and to name the step. And then you pass the class that will do the transformation or the estimation. In the second, with the second class to optimize the pipeline, is make pipeline, and here you just pass all the list of classes for the transformation and estimation, and the name of the step is implied, and it's simply the name of the class with small letters. Then what are feature union? In yellow, in this visual representation, they're used to chain together in parallel some pipeline. So each pipeline will transform the data on its own, and then at the end, all the matrices are concatenated in a single one. The initialization is really similar to the pipeline. So you have the class feature union, you pass a list of tuples, and each tuple, first it's the name of the step that you choose, and then the object pipeline that you have created. So now we dive to the fun part. The theory is finished. I hope I didn't bother you too much. I'm gonna show you some coding, some example with increasing complexity. And this will hopefully give you a kit starter for building your pipeline. So we start with how to build a simple pipeline to hyperparameter tuning to optimize the parameters in your pipeline, feature union for heterogeneous data, and then model selection. For this tutorial, I used a data set from the site Driven Data. It's a competition which is called Flu Shot Learning Predict H and N1 and seasonal flu vaccine. I didn't choose this on purpose due to the situation now. It was by accident. And it's basically a binary classification problem with two labels, two outcomes that you have to predict. So one is for the seasonal vaccine and one is for the H1N1 vaccine. So one is if the person decided to get the vaccine shot, and 0 not. The data set is comprised by around 26,000 records. Each record is a person with his data and its outcome. It has a lot of features, they are 35 actually, 23 numerical and 12 categorical. There are some null values, so it's interesting for the pre-processing and what I'm going to show you. There are few information on how the person perceived the disease and how he decided to contrast it. So, for example, the concern by the disease, how much he knows about it, if he used the mask, if he washed the hands. And then there are some anagraphical information like the age, education, and so on. So let's see how to build a first pipeline. So the dataset is composed, the competition gives two files, one for the features, the X variables, and one for the target, which are the Y variables. In the first box, I load with pandas, the two CSV file. As you can see from the target dataset, I dropped the H1N1 vaccine feature, target feature. I just keep the seasonal vaccine for simplicity. And in the second box, I drop all the categorical columns. I just keep the numerical one, again, just for simplicity. And in the third box with the group by, we see that the data set, the target, it's quite balanced, almost around 50% of the people decided to get vaccinated. So here we finally build the pipeline. I import from the library Sklearn and the module pipeline, the two classes, pipeline and make pipeline. So I create the object full pipeline, and I build a simple one on the numerical data. So first I do the imputing, where I treat the null values, and for each column, for the null values, I use the median of the column. Then I do scaling. And then the final step, which is called estimators, I use logistic regression as a base model. And in the second box, I create the same object. I just want to show you how to use the two classes. Here you can see how to interact with the object, its attributes. If you call the object in the first line, or you just print it, you see in the output a sort of dictionary where you have all the steps with the name and the classes with the parameters used. You can access the single step by square brackets and using the name of your step. And again, if you print the pipeline with by choosing the step, it prints just the class used with the parameter that is decided. With the method setParams, you can change the parameter in all the steps. And to reference them, you have to use first the name of the step. In this case, I want to change for the logistic regression, and the name is called estimators. Then you use to underscore, and then the name of the parameter. So in this case, I want to change the parameter C, the argument C, for the logistic regression class, and I set it to 1. If we print again, we see that the parameter C is changed to 1 as expected. A fancy feature of pipelines, if we import the set config from Sklearn and we set the argument display to diagram, we can see, as in the example, in the output, an HTML representation of the pipeline. If you just call, as you remember, the object pipeline, it will be a text on the output. In this way, you can see this representation, which for complex pipeline can be beneficial. Finally, we're ready for the fitting and the prediction. First, I split my data into train and test with the class train test split from Sklearn. Then I call the method fit by piping into the object full pipeline, my pipeline, and I fit on the X feature and the Y feature of my train. And then for the prediction, I either use the method predict or predict proba. With predict, as you can see in the output on the right, and the first line, it predicts the final class, so it's 1 or 0. With predict proba, it predicts the probability that the person will decide to get vaccinated. And then you have the score methods where you pass the X and Y, and it will print the accuracy of your model. We can see that both the accuracy on the train, of the prediction on the train and the test are close. They are around 0.76, so 76%. So not much overfitting. So that's how you create a simple pipeline. As you can see, as promised, it's really easy. You have a single object to interact with. You just call fit once and predict once, and it's all done. For many steps, normally you would have to repeat it twice, once for the train and for the test, while here it does just with one click. Then we proceed with an example of how to do hyperparameter tuning to optimize your model to achieve better performance. And use the grid search cross-validation. It's a combination of two methods to find the best parameter for your model. So the grid search, for each parameter, you decide a set of defined set of parameters, of values, and there are tested all the combination. Then with the cross-validation, you repeat each run for different experiment, what is called experiment, in this case is free. So in each run, it will test the accuracy with the set of parameters. And in each experiment, it's changed, the set is split in validation set and training set. The training is used for the training and the validation to see the accuracy, to predict the accuracy of the set of parameters. So I build the same simple pipeline as before. Again, on the numerical data, I do the imputing, the scaling, and now I'm using the random forest instead of the logistic regression to see if the performance improves. In the second box, you see that how you prepare the input for the grid search. So in this dictionary, for each parameter, you define a set of value to test. So in this case, for the first step, the simple imputer, I decide to test for the parameter strategy the value mean, median, and most frequent. Then I test the random forest parameter, which are n estimators, so the number of tree I'm using, max feature, for each tree, how many feature I want to use on my dataset, max sample, the percentage of the dataset that I'm going to use for the tree, and max depth, how deep has to be the tree. Then, to do the grid search cross-validation, I import from the module model selection the class grid search CV. I create in the second line the object grid search, where with the grid search CV class, where I pass the object pipeline, so full pipeline, the dictionary I showed you in the previous slide with all the combination of values. I define a free experiment for the cross-validation, and then I pipe it with the method fit, so it will fit on the train. And then if we call the method score, as for pipeline, we print the prediction, the accuracy, sorry. If we see in the output in the first line, we can see that there are free experiment, free false. There are 280 candidates, so combination of my sets, which in total are 164 runs. The score for the best parameters are not really improved. It's 0.76 in accuracy, so 76%. And if you use the attribute best params, it will print for each argument the best value. While with the attribute best estimator, it will give you the pipeline with the defined parameter, the best one. So again, you see it's really simple, few lines for do these complex jobs. Then we proceed with feature union for heterogeneous features. I show you how to use this class. By heterogeneous features, I mean a dataset where you have a mixture of type of data. In my case, it's text and numerical. So first, I prepare this to array where I insert the names of the numerical and the categorical columns. I need this later on to divide the two pipelines. So I prepare again the object pipeline. If we see first on the right, in the HTML representation, my pipeline has two steps. The first is the feature union, and the second is the estimation with the random forest. So in the first step that does the pre-processing, you have the feature union, which has two, it's a combination of two pipelines. The first one pre-process the numerical columns, the second the categorical. The numeric is the one I showed you before, with the exception of the class select columns that permits to select only the numerical columns, and then I do the imputing and the scaling. The categorical is the same with one extra step, which is the one-hot encoding that transform the text features into numerical columns. And on the left, on the code, we see that in the pipeline, I have the first step pre-process with the feature union. And in particular, I use the class make pipeline to prepare the numeric and categorical one. And I want to stress one moment, the first class, which is select columns, which has the argument names, and I pass the array. This class is a custom one I have created. You can do that with pipeline. It's very helpful. And in this case, I used it, as I said, to feed to each pipeline the numerical or the categorical list of columns and data. In order to build your own classes to use with pipelines, you import from the module base the two classes, base estimator and transformer mixing. They are helper classes so that your own can inherit the method fit and transform. As you can see from the code, I create the class select columns where I define the two classes I imported to inherit the methods. The The fit method doesn't do anything special. It just returns self. I don't need it. What I need is the transform that basically subset my X dataset with only the columns I want. Then here for the fit and prediction, it's the same as in the previous one from the grid search. What I want to show you is that by adding also the categorical feature, as expected, the accuracy improved. So if you see at the bottom in the output, the score for the test, it's 0.78% compared to the 76 that we achieved before. Finally, model selection, one last step to improve your model is by trying different algorithms. And I'm going to show you quickly how to do it. So first, we prepare this object preprocessor, which is basically the same feature union I showed you before. Then in the second box, I prepare this list with all the classes, the algorithm that I want to use. So together to the logistic regression and the random forest that I used already, I want to test also the support vector machine classification and the ADA boost classifier and the gradient boosting classifier that are tree-based as the random forest. With this list in mind, we proceed with the final step, where I create a for loop that loop in this the list I prepared before. And for each classifier, it builds the final pipeline and fit and score to see the accuracy. So with the object pipe, it merged together the feature union, the preprocessor, and the classifier of the iteration. Then it fits on the train, and it prints the score for on the test. So as we can see from the output, the accuracy is approximately the same. Keep in mind that I use the default argument for each algorithm, but it seems that the best one is the gradient boosting classifier, which reached 0.79 in accuracy, 79%, which is the best so far. Not optimal, I have to confess, but it's improving. So this is it. I showed you, I hope you have all the tools that you need to build your first pipeline. I showed you a few examples that you might encounter in your project. I'll give you here a few references. So the scikit-learn site for the module, then the link for the dataset I've used, the competition, and then two very helpful and clear tutorial. That's the end of my talk. Thanks all. I hope I didn't bore you too much. That it was actually interesting and useful for your projects. I leave here my contact info, and I'll see you soon in the one-to-one session if you have any further question. Thanks all. Bye.